From Drop Biscuit Studios and the people who brought you Wondery's Inside Jaws, Inside The Exorcist, and Inside Psycho comes You Talking to Me? Bite-sized Hollywood history with plenty of bite. The first time anything jumped the shark. This is You Talking to Me? I'm Mark Ramsey. Almost everybody knows that the origin of the now familiar phrase, jump the shark, comes from Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz, literally water ski jumping over a shark back in the heyday of the retro TV comedy classic Happy Days. Wait, heyday? Well, maybe some period past the heyday, thus explaining the desperate stab for attention that was the Fonz on water skis jumping over a shark. Of course, jumping the shark means something is already careened well past greatness and down a slippery path straight to the burning hell of mediocrity. It will never, ever be as good as it was and will only from this day forward get worse. That is jumping the shark. So how did Happy Days resort to the desperate and ill-advised and, let's face it, creatively bankrupt idea of the Fonz jumping a shark? Well, series star Ron Howard knew why, at least he says so. Listen, I remember Donnie most, the character Ralph, and I sitting there looking at the script. Donnie was really upset. He said, "Oh man, look what our show has kind of devolved into. It's not even very funny. And Fonz is jumping over a shark." And I kept saying, "Hey Donnie, we're a hit show, relax. You know it's hard to have great episodes one after another. Fonzie jumping over a shark, it's going to be funny and great." I remember thinking that, well, creatively, this was not our greatest episode, but I thought it was a pretty good stunt, and I understood why they wanted to do it. And what I remember the most is it was fun actually driving the speedboat, which I did a bit of, noticing that Henry was really a pretty good water skier. But the thing that has to be remembered about jumping the shark is that the show went on to be such a massive success for years after that. So it's kind of a fun expression, and I get a kick out of the fact that they identified that episode because, granted, maybe it was pushing things a little too far, but I think a lot of good work was still done after that show, and audiences seemed to really respond to it. Well, this is the most optimistic view of the episode imaginable. Of course, Happy Days was still on top of the ratings, but explaining that the show was coasting on fumes by saying, yeah, they were fumes, but at least we were coasting, well, that's not exactly a satisfactory answer, right? A former Happy Days writer rationalized that it wasn't as bad as all that because, after all, that particular season also featured an episode which introduced a character named Mork from Mork, played by some guy named Robin Williams, who quickly spun out, no pun intended, into his own series Mork and Mindy. Well, personally, I would argue the introduction of a goofy alien remains a perfect fit in a post-shark jump story world, but whatever. In 2019, Henry Winkler, the Fonz himself, explained the origin of the stunt. Winkler had been a water skiing instructor as a teen at summer camp. His dad nagged him, "Tell Happy Days creator Gary Marshall that you water ski." History does not record why that particular smidge of trivia was so important to Winkler's dad, but Winkler did tell Marshall. And wouldn't you know it, there's Fonzie jumping over a shark. So Winkler's dad was right all along. They should put him in the writer's room. They should have put a lot of other people in there with him, in fact. Even today, Winkler maintains he is not embarrassed by the scene or the fact that it has evolved to represent the dark side of almost every over-the-hill creative everything in existence. Why was that moment so symbolic? I don't know, Winkler said. To them, the Fonz water skiing was just like the last straw. The only thing is, it wasn't to the audience because we were number one for years after that, so it didn't much matter to anybody. Plus, he added, newspapers would mention jumping the shark and they would show a picture of me in my leather jacket and my swim shorts water skiing, and at that time, I had great legs, so I thought, I don't care. And did I mention we were number one for the next 4 or 5 years? Yes, you did, Henry. But what I was really hoping for was an apology. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. And please rate us 5 stars because we haven't jumped the shark yet, but it's coming. That's You Talking to Me. I'm Mark Ramsey.